Right now at 6, do you know how to avoid running into a bear? As the temps get warmer, they'll be out and about. Brooke Griffin with some tips you should keep in mind.
And several boats with teenagers on board capsized off the coast of Westport. What they were doing out there on the water.
And a bill at the state capitol could drive the future of rideshare drivers. What's set to happen today that could put it on the road to success?
All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
It's 6 o'clock. Good Thursday morning. Thanks for starting your day off with us here at Fox 61 and Fox 61 Plus America areas.
And I'm Keith McGilver. You can tell we've been friends for a while because magically we're both wearing blue and yellow for World Down Syndrome Awareness Day. So good stuff there. More on that as the morning continues. But want to get you started with a check of your forecast. Another friend in the mix, meteorologist Matt Scott.
Good morning. Nice to see you, and nice to see you just in one place, just hunkered down, because if not, those winds are going to blow you everywhere this morning. It is a windy morning out there with wind gusts upwards of 20 to 30, even 40 miles an hour later on today. So that's going to take a big chunk out of the already colder temperatures out there. As a result, we also have an elevated fire risk. We've been talking about that for the last couple of days. It is very dry out there, and the wind's certainly not helping. Not a day to light anything up. The weekend is wet. Very wet. We'll talk about the Saturday forecast and what you need to know about that coming up. Radar picture right now. We've gotten reports of a couple of snow showers, even a squall pushing out of Enfield. It is now, there's a little moderate activity getting ready to cross over 84. Willington, Union, you're on deck for that. It's not a lot, but there's some snow falling out there. A lot more off towards the north and the west with that wind picking up out of the north and west. So what you see on the thermometer, it ain't legit. Temperatures between 23 and 32, but dress for half of that this morning at the bus stop. And that wind will continue throughout the day as we get up to the upper 30s. That's it later on today. What happened to the 50s? They were just here a minute ago. Well, tell you if they're coming back in the 7-day. That's coming up in a minute. 6:02. Rachel Piska, have you seen the 50s? They were here a second ago.
Yeah. Where'd they go?
They ain't here today. That's for dang sure.
I miss them, and I want them back. All right. Good morning. It is 6:02 right now. I started my car early this morning, and I haven't done that in quite some time, as it has been pretty mild out there. It is a cold one. All right. 91, 95, all looking okay this morning. We did have earlier road work that has wrapped up for your morning commute. We'll take a live look outside over New Haven this morning, just out by 91, heading towards the I-95 interchange, where volume is light this morning, but that south or northbound rather does have a couple of cars on there. Otherwise, over in Waterford this morning, 95 heading to 695. That looks okay, or 395 rather. That looks all right. So New Haven to New York, it's 52 minutes. Waterbury to New York, it's a 57-minute drive. Keith and Erica, back to you.
Rachel, thanks so much. All right, now that it's spring, a lot of us are going to start to see bears out looking for food. And experts want us to remind you that it is illegal to feed bears. If you do, there could now be a price to pay.
Yeah, it took me 5 years to have my first sighting at the West Hartford Reservoir, but it happened, and I know a lot of you are seeing them a lot more frequently than that. There's also a new law that's helping farmers protect their crops from bears. Fox 61's Brooke Griffin live with us in studio with a look at the consequences people can face by feeding a bear. Brooke, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. This is the first warm season since those new laws have taken effect. We are looking at two very different aspects here, though. On one side, you could be fined for feeding bears intentionally, but on the other, there is a new exception that would allow a farmer to kill a bear if it becomes a problem on their farm. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection tells us there are now about 1,200 black bears here in Connecticut, with most of that population up in the Northwest Hills. Now is the time for them to come out of hibernation looking for food. A bear biologist says this is how they end up in people's yards. As of October, it's against the law to purposefully feed bears. This means no bird feeders out where they can get them, keeping trash cans concealed, and of course, not putting out food for them intentionally to just have. Apparently, that is something that has become an issue over the years. If environmental officials see these things continuously happening at a home, they will warn that homeowner verbally, but then they will issue a fine if it continues. Experts say if you see a bear in your yard, think twice before just grabbing your camera.
Use those 10 or 15 seconds to scare the bear, because you're actually going to be helping the bear a lot more by scaring it away than you are getting that quick picture. So, that would be my one request to everybody is let's all help restore that natural fear that bears have of people, and everybody needs to pitch in and do their part for that.
There's also a new law to help farmers having issues with bears that are tearing up their crops. Farmers can apply for a permit to kill a bear if it's causing a significant amount of monetary damage to their crops on a regular basis. It has to happen more than once. Hunting bears is illegal in Connecticut, but this permit would allow it for one time for that specific nuisance bear. The farmer is then required to give the bear to state officials to study. And state officials see if you do see a bear in your yard, go ahead and take a few minutes to report the sighting to DEEP so that they can keep track of where bears are spending their time here in Connecticut. Keith, back to you.
All right, Brooke, thanks so much. Some good information there. Appreciate it. 6:05, following several big court cases today, including a hearing for Michelle Troconis. That's happening in Stamford. She faces a charge of criminal contempt of court. Troconis accused of having a sealed custody report on her laptop during her trial, visible for those behind her to see, including TV cameras in the courtroom. Troconis is in custody as she awaits sentencing for conspiring to commit murder in the Jennifer Dulos case.
A Brantford man is set to be sentenced today for hitting Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysowitz's brother, John Bysowitz, with his car in Guilford back in 2022. Arneel Stom pleaded guilty to assault and evading. John Bysowitz suffered serious injuries. He was in the hospital for more than 100 days. And a woman charged in a deadly hit and run in Enfield is due in court. Judith Kostick is expected to be arraigned on a charge of evading responsibility, resulting in death. Police say that she hit a person riding a mini bike back on March 4th at the intersection of Hazard Avenue and Water Street and then left the scene. That person ended up dying from the crash.
Some scary moments in Westport to tell you about for 29 people, most of them teenage boys with a local rowing club, after 3 of their boats capsized. Crews responding to Campo Beach just after 5 yesterday afternoon were told the incident happened between the Campo Beach and the Kokanee Island. Officers saying when the teens and their coach reached the island, they noticed the weather started to change and they tried to get back to the rowing club. That's when 2 of the rowing boats capsized. Their coach and another boat tried to get them into a third boat when that capsized as well. Luckily, a separate boat from the rowing club arrived and began taking the kids back to shore. Wow. A parent of one of the teenagers shared what her child told her about how it all unfolded.
Things were going really well, according to my son, and then the winds shifted, the water got choppy, they started taking on water and they started to go down, but they're all really smart and coach was out there with them.
Wow. So we're told 2 of the people involved were taken to the hospital. The water in the Long Island Sound, 44 degrees at the time, the air temps at about 40 as well.
At the state capitol today, lawmakers are going to consider which bills will make it out of committee and head to the floor of the General Assembly. 3 bills are up for a vote to deal with paid sick days. Governor Lamont wants to modernize and expand the state's paid sick day rules. One measure calls for all employers to give staff paid sick days, regardless of how many employees there are on payroll. And it would also redefine who is considered a family member when a worker wants to use paid sick days to care for their parents and domestic partners. Lawmakers are also considering a measure to put limits on employers from changing their policy to pay out paid time off when an employee leaves the company. Now, that bill would make employers give 12 months notice when making any changes when it comes to paying for accrued paid time off that went unused.
Some lawmakers want to allow the state to promote the impacts of hybrid and telework schedules. The bill would allow the Department of Transportation and Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to develop a marketing campaign. It would share how telework and hybrid schedules would impact emissions, traffic congestion, wear and tear on the roads, and the use of gasoline. The future of rideshare drivers in Connecticut also on the docket. A bill on the table would make several changes for those drivers. It would establish a minimum pay rate that requires companies to reimburse drivers for wear and tear and authorize the state to reach an agreement with neighboring states so drivers can pick up drivers and make deliveries across state lines.
Amid an effort to get more funding for the Shoreline East rail line, advocates say people who ride on the rails have to speak up. The Public Transportation Council met last night to talk about the current state of the railroad. One of the main challenges is a lack of passengers. While advocates say more people are riding the rail since the pandemic, it's still not enough. They say the current train schedules are no longer convenient.
I think if they run more trains, more people will take it. More train options make life easier for more people. okay? But you got to have the ridership.
The Waterbury line was giving 44% more than what they needed, and now they are the strongest line in Connecticut. So that shows you, if you fund a train line, it will perform.
Lawmakers tell us that more funding to become a reality, they need more people to speak up on how funding the Shoreline East service would help them.